This is a podcast by the News Minute, and you are listening to South Central.
Hello and welcome to South Central, a TNM podcast where we put the South at the center. I am Dhanya, Rajendran, your host, back after a week's break. Pooja, thank you for taking over South Central and welcome to the show.
Why are you dressed like it's already Onam?
Because see, Onam has started and when it's going to be Thiruvonam, we won't have an episode. So I thought I will do Onam colors this episode.
What do you mean we won't have an episode? Are you
It'll be
ditching me
after
again?
Onam, right?
Oh,
It'll
like
be
that.
after Onam, that's
Okay.
why. But the break I took was to be a caregiver in a hospital. And I'm really pissed off at whoever called caregivers bystanders, hospital bystander. Nobody is bystanding in a hospital. I'm going to revolt against the usage of that word. Okay, so before we go to the headlines with Pooja, today we're going to be discussing food safety in India, and joining us is someone that most of you know very well, Krish Ashok, whose Instagram channel is very popular, with our colleague Shivani Kava. We're also going to be discussing the BJP's political reshuffle with the political editor of the Quint, Aditya Menon. Pooja, headlines.
We'll start with Kerala. Arunachal student's death in Kerala raises questions over college's 22 credit rule. According to his classmates and other college students who News Minute has spoken to, Michi died by suicide after failing to meet the 22 credit requirement needed to progress from the 4th to the 5th semester at the college.
I had to read it twice, actually. What is this 22 credit requirement? But a few people who studied in this college earlier wrote to me saying that they were quite strict about the rules, and it's no surprise that this happened.
But I just want to say that I'm glad I'm not a student now. It just seems so scary having to meet.
And we were never a student of engineering or medicine.
Thank God for that. I don't think I'd last. Kerala 13-year-old girl and friends held for grandfather's murder. Buying bikes, iPhone was the motive. So chilling. A 13-year-old girl and her 3 friends have been arrested from Kollam in Kerala for the alleged robbery and murder of a 65-year-old grandfather.
So it's a bit more complicated than this. After the initial, press meets, the police then said that one, of course, robbery was the intention, where the girl and her friends wanted to rob this grandparent. But she was also angry with him for unsafe touch, which is why the murder happened. So now what is happening is these 3 boys, at least 2 of them, are going to be tried as adults and not as juveniles, because they are above 16, I think, and it's a heinous crime. Yeah. So there's a lot of discussion around that.
But I've always wondered when we read some very trivial or frivolous excuse for committing a crime, I feel like as journalists, we might have flattened the real reason. Things might have been far more complicated, like you said.
And that, of course, applies to both men and women.
Of course,
right?
of course. Absolutely.
In fact, I was speaking to Harita John, our bureau chief in Kerala, where she was talking about how this girl has come from a broken family. I said, see, even for a lot of male juveniles, that would be the case.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So it's a bit of a slippery slope to do that kind of reporting also in every story.
Yeah. Just because it makes for good headlines, people tend to, just use that. Let's move on to Karnataka. The State Human Rights Commission team visits Hanur to probe death of 3 suspected poachers. The team that has been led by Deputy SP Ashwath Narayana has been tasked with conducting a detailed inquiry and submitting a report following the suo motu case registered by SHRC. This is the extrajudicial killing.
Yeah. So Tamil Nadu has protested. Karnataka has justified it. As someone who's seen this many times before, and remember the killing of many people from Tamil Nadu in Andhra Pradesh, no action taken against anyone. I think other than one cycle of outrage, unfortunately, no action will be taken against the cops.
Yeah. And again, language matters, like you said, right? Not calling this encounter, though it is a bit of a mouthful, saying extrajudicial killing each time matters. I also was thinking, we use cow slaughter. The word slaughter is so violent. And I think we don't say sheep slaughter, chicken slaughter, any of pig slaughter, right? There is a connotation to that, to make the crime or make the action seem very gruesome. So that it in a way
killing
justifies
of the cow.
The crimes that follow after that. Yeah. First, resolve Nagendra issue. Karnataka opposition blocks resolution on Kharge's Shuddhikarana. I mean, it is absolutely unbelievable that a government which has the kind of majority that it does could not pass a resolution against the party president, who is a prominent Dalit leader, and there was a Shuddhikaran done after he visited a place. But yeah, the government,
so
when it
happened
attempted...
in Uttarakhand, but BJP is saying till you till you give us Nagendra's resignation, we will not allow. And it's really bad legislature management by the Congress that they are not able to pass a resolution.
If you can't manage a floor for an issue like this, I really don't know what you're doing. Tamil Nadu Tehsildar demands the list of Communist Party members in his taluk, and of course he gets suspended by the Tamil Nadu government after that. The circular by the Tehsildar by the name M. Ayasamy came amid a dispute between him and the CPIM members over a land dispute in Dindigul district of Tamil Nadu.
Yeah, so imagine some McCarthy fan he sounds like, right? Get the list of communists.
Yeah. Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Vijay announces car and 75,000 monthly allowance for all legislators. The announcement came after VCK MLA Jyotimani raised the issue of logistical support for legislators and said that MLAs needed adequate resources to work efficiently.
I think one MLA sang a song in the assembly to thank Vijay. I didn't hear which song it was. But there's a lot of coverage. There's a lot of discussion on the Tamil Nadu assembly proceedings itself.
Yeah.
Which I think is a good thing, that people are actually watching the assembly. And if Vijay has forced them to, well, good.
Yeah. But I also want to emphasize on needed adequate resources to work effectively. After this, I hope they work effectively.
Here's your 75,000, work properly,
Yes.
and a car.
Yes. After backlash, Tamil Nadu government withdraws order barring students joining left CJP protests. The Tamil Nadu government has withdrawn the controversial directive that asks officials to prevent students from participating in protests organized by left parties and the Cockroach Janata Party. CPI, CPIM are both coalition partners.
No, so the Chief Secretary, M. Sai Kumar, had a law and order meeting on the 18th of July. It's following that this directive came. Now, after outrage, they took it back, but someone should ask the Chief Secretary and the government, how can you even come up with a circular like this?
Let's move to Andhra with no word from government on talks. Junior doctors continue their strike in Andhra. Emergency and non-emergency services continue to be affected in Andhra teaching hospitals across the state. In government teaching hospitals, I misread it. Former Rajya Sabha MP Vijay Sai Reddy announces new political party in Andhra. The former YSRCP National General Secretary, who resigned from Rajya Sabha in Jan 2025, saying that he would not join any party, said that he would announce the roadmap in Vijayawada this very month. There was a lot of buzz at the time that he could join the BJP because he used to sing praises of Modi and BJP.
But maybe this is his last minute tactic, saying to the BJP, please take me.
Yeah.
I don't know what is the use of a party by Vijay Sai Reddy. Sure.
Mm-hmm. Telangana, state's revenues receipts not up to expectations at July end. Borrowings cross 57.7% on the limit set for current fiscal year with 8 months left. Of course, we need to see how the rest of the months go. Harish Rao placed under house arrest in Kokapet. Among those held along with Harish Rao were Sabita Indra Reddy and Talasani Srinivas Yadav. Interestingly, Sabita Indra Reddy was a very, very prominent Congress leader much before Revant Reddy joined Congress even. But yeah, this house arrest culture continues in Telangana. We look at one or two national headlines. Employment guarantee has slipped into limbo. VBG Ramji was sold as an expansion of the Manrega, but it has actually driven employment guarantee into the ditch. A concern that many people had, an apprehension many people vocalized. But yeah, it has happened. Okay, that's it for the headlines for this week, Dhanya.
Thank you. Okay, so first we are going to discuss something which is close to everybody's heart. It's food. Nowadays, if you open your social media or TV channels, if you unfortunately actually watch TV channels, a large part of the news is also about how there are raids happening in different cities, in different corners of India, and all kinds of adulteration and food poisoning and, expired food, etc. is being discovered. I think there were raids in hospitals too recently. So joining us to discuss about food is a man that you must be watching quite a lot on your Instagram. It's influencer and the author of Masala Lab, Krish Ashok. Thank you very much for joining us on South Central.
Pleasure being here.
And joining him is not a food expert, but the only person in the News Minute who's done food-related stories, especially on the deep, dark world of cloud kitchens, Shivani Kava.
Hi.
What is this, Shivani? Some more energy.
What a
I'm
coy
with two
hi.
of my editors. I'm also like, okay, hello.
For people who are watching, this is just pretend. Shivani is nothing like this in real life.
By the way, Shivani, you must watch out for, let me explain, where
yeah.
Shivani is that person who forgets to say present.
She had half a line, present ma'am. and
Dimagi
she goes
Naksal,
up-
present sir, is that all she had to say,
I'm
but she
already
forgot.
so nervous. Why are you guys doing this to me?
Okay, so Krish, you must be watching all these raids, right? So what we understood, we both had been to Hyderabad recently, and we had several meetings with bureaucrats there. In fact, what one of them told us is that for the number of restaurants and eateries that Hyderabad has, only a small percent are actually following any kinds of rules, and very few are registered under FSSAI. And they are now going to have, like they have Hydra for buildings, they may have one authority only to look at food.
They started, right? It's
I think one more will start. Yeah. Which is a lightning, what is it?
Falcon.
Falcon, Tufan, whatever it's going to be called. So how do you look at all these raids happening? Because people are getting shocked, right? I was reading a BBC story which starts with the example of a woman who's apparently started making masalas in her house because she's too scared of buying them.
Okay, good for her. But I think, so let me, if you look at this entire thing, so for starters, I think most people don't realize that the budget of FSSAI in India, the food safety, right? I mean, the apex, right, organization is roughly about 3 to 4 rupees per citizen in India. Okay, that's their entire budget. Okay, like effectively, you can't even buy one masala vada for the per citizen budget of FSSAI. So I think as a lower middle income kind of country, people do have to realize that state capacity, and this is not just food safety, right? If you kind of ask how many citizens have never broken a traffic rule in India, it's going to be not a very attractive number. Because again, it's because the police lack the capacity to catch everyone who breaks the law, because there's just simply not enough cops, there's not enough technology. I think it's the same thing that applies. There's not enough labs. So in fact, FSSAI, when they try and raid the highest risk places as opposed to, the fancier places that we expect to be better and so on, because they simply do not have the capacity to raid everyone and so on, right? So first and foremost, you have to frame it in the context of a country where our budget and our ability to do this is anyway constrained. On top of that, of course, there are the usual inefficiencies. I think, people will take advantage of the situation. People will take these things in a lax way and so on. There is a tendency to go after theater, right? Go after the place where they're going to fail and make a big, sort of scene out of the fact that, look at this, so dirty, this 5-star hotel failed this, etc. In India, there are so many rules and regulations that the chances that any place is not violating some regulation or the other is very low, right? So I think it's a very complicated situation in a country where you don't have much of a food safety budget. It's a very giant country. Most of the food is prepared not in a professional, like a regulated industrial kitchen and so on. It's very, very unregulated street food kind of places. Again, I as an engineer, mathematically, I can tell you, virality does not mean reality, right? So it doesn't. Just because there is more coverage now does not make this a unique crisis that is unique to this moment, right? If you dug deep enough, food in India has always been at the level of safety that you expect from a lower middle income kind of country, be it Africa, be it anywhere else, or Pakistan or Bangladesh or anywhere else, is going to be at that level, right? For that level, we're about there in that sense. Of course, and we've got to continue to keep doing better.
Okay, I know that we're going to discuss some very, very horrifying details of how bad the situation is. But two things. One, I think you're bang on the politics part of it. It's a very Zoran Mamdani kind of thing. If I'm doing something, you'll know that I'm doing it, sort of a thing. And I think ministers have realized that food is close to everybody's heart and you will panic, and it's the lowest hanging fruit. So that part I give. Second point I want to ask you is, do we sometimes overreact? So a couple of days ago, I'd ordered tender coconut from Blinkit because it was raining and it had an expiry date. I know when a tender coconut has gone bad. So what are you going to do? Throw it away after the expiry date? The same for a lot of vegetables, right? That it's not bad, but it has an expiry date. So is it impractical in some way, small doses?
It is. So, for example, the stats are quite scary. 30% of food in India is like wasted, right? For a country with people who are actually starving, that is ridiculous. And you can also see there's a socioeconomic strata, right? Like, for example, people from my mother's generation would gladly just ignore some of these expiry dates and consume. There's no world where they would throw these away, right? And there is always someone who is happy to take the expired stuff, right? In fact, even in a hot and tropical place, we used to ferment our food, which technically is considered spoiling, right? A lot of traditional North Indian Ayurveda says that fermented food is bad food, right? That's not true. In most hot southern India, fermented food is absolutely safe food. So the point is that I think we absolutely overreact. But there's also a second interesting element. So if you look at crime data in India, you will find that Kerala and Tamil Nadu show a lot of crimes against women, right? Compared to some of the North Indian states. But the reason for that is that there's actually more reporting, not that there's actually more crime and so on, right? So very similar. Sometimes it makes it hard to compare 2006 and 2026 because we're doing more testing now, right? So sometimes apples to apples comparison of food safety is sometimes hard, right? Because FSSAI probably used to do far fewer tests in 20 years ago than they are doing now, right? So that can sort of bias you. But there is one statistic that we have enough of, right? Where the absolute frontier metric for any kind of food safety is diarrheal mortality. Meaning that, look, if you consume bad food, one of the first things that you're going to get is diarrhea, right? And if 1,000 people get diarrhea, one person might die, right? So if 100,000 people get diarrhea, then 1,000 people might die. So you can literally, if diarrheal mortality goes up, you know that's a pretty good proxy for saying that your food safety has gone for a toss. Meaning that you have more infectious diseases, waterborne diseases. Yes, all of that finally kind of comes down to that only, right? And you know what? Diarrheal mortality has gone down in the last 20 years. So therefore, the overreaction part, to me at least, like, yeah, I get you guys are all, deadly serious about this, but just go to any hospital. Everybody is still diabetes and heart disease. Where are the diarrheal mortality? Where are the children dying from diarrhea? Where are the major enteric, all kind of gut-related diseases that you should see in case you're having this serious food safety crisis? You should see all of that go up, right? And by the way, deaths are relatively harder to hide than other kind of metrics, right? Why is it that we are not seeing that? So in a sense, I think my opinion also is that people find it easy to get shocked and blame something over which they have no control, right? You do not have to eat all those biscuits, okay, and get diabetes. But instead, you will outrage over the fact that this biscuit used palm oil. This biscuit said ghee, but did used something else. They used some other. They used an additive. They used an emulsifier. And I think it's the same thing, right? You do not have to essentially. Many of the people outraging do not have to buy food at the places that they are outraging about, right? You could absolutely cook at home, right? You eat less food outside, you're going to be healthier. Right? You eat less packaged food, you're going to be healthier, right? So in that sense, I think, people are overreacting to what I feel is, rightfully so, I think a greater focus on detection and catching these places and at least sending a message that you will be caught, which I think is an important thing, right? But I don't think the public should overreact and say that, oh my God, things have gotten worse or anything. Like, they are finally shining a light, right? It's like you've not shown a light at all, right? So you have no base for comparison. Yes.
Shivani, I can see you nodding. I don't know whether you're in disagreement, agreement. I am in disagreement with some of the things. I'll come back to that. But Shivani, you did a story about cloud kitchens. I'll just quickly make her explain the story where you looked at cloud kitchens across Bengaluru and how that's like completely out of the realm of any type of checking, licensing, or even the sporadic inspections, right?
Just one thing. Shivani, after she did that story, has become an absolute pain in office. Every time I'm sitting and trying to order from someplace, she'll be like, you really want to order from here? Do you know what the kitchen looks like? So yeah, I just sort of...
Yeah, so we came across the story because one of the colleagues came across a under construction building and a lot of delivery drivers were coming out of the building. So he was curious, so he went to check around what is happening and he found out there are like multiple cloud kitchens which are operating out of it, and the place, it's an under construction building. There's water leaking from somewhere and people are not wearing gloves. The handling of food was not hygienic per se, and even the safety of the workers, because there are construction materials lying around. So that is where we started, and then went down a whole rabbit hole on Reddit trying to figure out, like, I have people actually reported on it, and we found a delivery partner out of Yelahanka who had actually captured visuals inside the cloud kitchens, because as reporters they won't allow us inside. So through him we got visuals, and then he took us to these cloud kitchens. So a lot of places, I mean, there are majority of places which are like doing well, but cloud kitchens also operate out of houses, right? We don't know exactly, it's not a commercial kitchen per se. And after pandemic, a lot of cloud kitchens have mushroomed. The ones that we visited, the delivery partners who told us about it was, either it was a under construction building, or one area, one address would have like more than 20 cloud kitchens name registered on Zomato or Swiggy. So the situation inside was murky. The handling of food, the handling of vegetables and meat, it was not separate. Again, the basic hygiene of wearing gloves, or even if it's not wearing gloves, like the area, like just the fact that the dustbin is very close to the area of where the food was prepared. So these were some of the violations we found, and then we tried to figure out, it was very easy to get a license for cloud kitchens. We tried to register ourselves on it, but you again needed Aadhaar card and everything.
But you get within hours.
Yes, you get within hours. We did speak to people who get within hours of that. But Swiggy and Zomato do say that they have audits. Swiggy has something called as a Swiggy seal. But I'm not sure when such violations are. First of all, the FSSAI officers that we spoke to, again, they said that we are already like, our staff is very low. We are going and doing checks at restaurants. And again, they are also only doing checks when they receive complaints. How many of us are like filing a complaint or raising issues regarding a cloud kitchen? So, and if it's based out of a residential area, again, how are the FSSAI officers going and checking how it is inside a residential area?
They could, to be honest, I mean, they could barely check all restaurants and like factory food companies. Now you are asking them to check like cloud kitchens.
No, I had spoken to one of the people for Shivani's story also, who manages cloud kitchens for one of these apps. He was a head. So he was saying that the only feedback they take are from people. Like say Shivani gets bad food and Shivani marks it. They still don't remove the cloud kitchen from the app. In the algorithm, they will hide it a little bit. For a few days, they have some penalties.
And they will refund the customer. And again, if I, as a let's say a cloud kitchen, I'm ready to pay like an extra money to bring it again, like I'm gonna like, can you feature me in the ads because you've downranked me? That will also happen.
I wanted to sort of respond to that whole cloud kitchen thing, right? Tell me something. All of us here, right? You all eaten street food?
No.
You've been to some really crowded place or a small tea shop where they sell some masala vada or something. Where is that masala vada made? Have you seen the place where it's made? Right. I want to sort of really just ensure that we realize that India is not a rich country, and a lot of there is a cost to a first world notion of food safety, right? You will not reuse oil. You will use absolutely clean water and all that. So in India, there are people who need to buy food vada at like 5 rupees, and there are people who will pay 400 rupees in a ghee-soaked, drenched Rameshwaram cafe type of place, right? So the point is that India needs to cater to every single one of them, right? You cannot apply your urban Bangalore idea of how hygienic a kitchen needs to be for everyone. Okay, that brings me to the whole cloud kitchen phenomenon, right? Cloud kitchen. Obviously, it began because, right, post-pandemic and that entire thing where this idea of companies realize that running a restaurant is a risky business, right? I mean, it's added cost, added rent, all of that stuff. And now that I have this delivery mechanism, the ability to reach a larger audience where I don't have to worry about delivery, I can just focus on the food and these people can take care, right? Now, in an ideal world, these cloud kitchens would be run as a professional kitchen with professional equipment, professional safety, gloves, and everything else like that. And again, in India, I'd say that all of that adds to the cost of the food. So for starters, right, if you are worried about that, then don't buy from a cloud kitchen, which you believe is lower cost. Basically, the price of the item should really tell you what for the most part. Yes, of course, go after the people who are charging 400 rupees. And then violating these rules, by all means, yes. But I think as a general rule, I think India is complicated. You have to look at it as a spectrum, no? That this conversation for a laborer, which is who's drinking chai or a vada from some place, this level of food safety discourse makes no sense to the vast majority of people in India, right?
I agree with you on the, like, you know, the kind of food that we're ordering. Also, like, depending on the cost, we know exactly what kind of hygiene probably the place is used. But we, when we were looking at the story, we did look at like big name brands which were violating these, you know, safety norms, hygiene norms. We've also mentioned them in the story. And also, like, it comes down to like kind of margins the cloud kitchen owner has to pay to the organizations, right? Platforms, which is Swiggy and Zomato, which is as low as 10% to 30%. So whatever they earn, they need to also have the profit margin. But I kind of disagree with the part where you say if you don't want to, like, you know, go through all of this, like, then make food at home. Because right now the Karnataka rates did take place, and even the 5-star kitchens were violating the hygiene issues. They had expired food, they had meat which had gone stale. So, like, again, it comes back to like how we started the BBC story. Then people will start making their own spices.
No. So I think, look, I'm not saying, look, as I said, it is good that you're going after the 5-star places, catching them and telling them that things will be enforced. All I'm saying is that India is like complicated, right? The problem is that if you make that rule for that 5-star and then apply it to everyone else, that's not going to be practical either, right? And I'm not, the point is that I'm somebody who actually tells people, you know, you should reduce the amount you cook at home, use a lot of automation, use packaged food, use the freezer and so on. So cooking food at home is not the point. I'm just saying that I think there is a very selective kind of outrage where people are looking at these things and they're not realizing the sheer scale of poverty and the thing in India, right? For sure, yet, I mean, people who are trying to squeeze a little bit of more margin while being 5-star and not doing the safety have no excuse, and they should be caught. And there is no doubt about it at all, right? But India is a lot more complicated, right? See, every cloud kitchen, again, if you cook at home, right? There are many people. There are going to be people for whom that additional revenue it gives that person some additional financial independence, right? Especially a lot of women who run that sort of a cloud kitchen. It's in many cases that's their only source of income and so on. So this is not a straightforward conversation where, you know, the rich can look down on the poor's cooking habits and so on. I mean, as the country economic growth improves, see, I think we are having this conversation clearly because as there is economic growth, people are starting to care about these a lot more, right?
I think, no, like you were saying that why are we covering this story right now is because of the raids, right? I mean, I actually decided to talk about this considering there is so much of activity from all the cities where it's scaring people. They think there's some epidemic of bad food. Now, when I see these raids, I'm thinking, okay, the big guys I'm going to boycott. The small guys, I am very aware of what their hygiene standards would be. When I'm eating, that's a risk I take upon myself. So I don't think too much about it, and I'm aware of that risk. But when I pay 1,000 rupees for a dish, then there is a hygiene we expect, right? I think that's the only problem. But I don't know if we can say that people are not dying of diarrhea, but shouldn't people not be getting diarrhea at all? Like,
no, that's not the way to think about it, right? That's not how epidemiology works, right? So here's the primary thing, right? People suddenly being scared by this, I would argue, is silly. I keep telling people, please stop paying attention to any form of fear mongering of any kind, because I think there is a huge reporting bias, sample bias that exists, right? I mean, and the data over the last 20 years shows you that fewer and fewer people are dying from diarrhea, right? So the point is that 2 years ago, when this was not a thing, when this was not such a thing where people were not scared, do you honestly believe somehow food safety was better 2 years ago, right? And the fact of the matter is that even right now, for all the points about the cloud kitchen, where are the mortalities? Forget mortalities. Show me actual hospital admission data for aflatoxins, salmonella, and so on, right? Because this is India and the denominator is so huge, you can find enough stories. Now, 147 girls in a girls' school in Gujarat. Again, many of these things happen in some of these school kitchens and these places where, again, when you're cooking fresh food, that's where most of your things that are going to likely go wrong will go wrong, because you don't have refrigeration, you don't have power. India's a hot country, things will spoil. You will be a little bit callous about spoiled food, and supplier will not store things in the proper way. There'll be rat infestations. So in such huge denominator, of course, a few bad things are going to happen, right? So the point about diarrhea is that, look, India is a hot country. We've barely done basic sanitation and gotten everyone a toilet in like the last 10 or 15 years. Even that, one could argue, is there is a lot of political optics more than actual reality on the ground, right? So in that world where most diarrheal deaths, even right now, do not happen as a result of food safety. They happen as a result of basically contaminated water that people drink, right? This is a blip in the larger discourse around thing at all, right? But my only point is that who is like being completely shocked about the fact that there are still kids dying from diarrheal mortality due to just bad, dirty groundwater and untreated water, right? 100 times, 1,000 times more people die. And compared to the number of actual mortalities and these things from diarrhea due to food contamination, it's not even a rounding error. Right? So yes, I absolutely agree. I do not want the slightest risk that if I eat a salad somewhere that I'm going to get salmonella. Of course, I don't want that. But the fact of the matter is that just ask around your office and find out how many people got like food poisoning from a cloud kitchen across Bangalore. You'll find that it's not a very large number.
No, and I also think science matters at just one point. Like 2-3 years ago, when there were a lot of deaths, not lots, but 4 or 5 deaths reported in Kerala after eating shawarmas, they immediately figured out it's because of raw eggs being used in mayonnaise and they banned it. Now, in the last 2-3 years, we haven't. So I think the scientific interventions at the right time also matters.
Yeah, so my point I was trying to make is there are two things and we have to not mix them up. One is unhygienic conditions in which food is being cooked. Second is adulterated food in itself. For the government to go after unhygienic food because it's visual, it is shocking when you see rat, you've been ordering from a place and there are rats all over, is shocking. So it feels like they are being efficient. But the fact is that there is adulterated food. Ingredients themselves are adulterated, for which government is responsible because they give licenses. They're very lax in, when there is a big setup. So that is something they'll not agree. So it also kind of then becomes very, there's a cycle. So you go after, okay, I will not. None of us will cook at home and eat despite what we see. But I'm saying for somebody viewing it, they'll say, okay, I'm going to start cooking at home and eating. Then are your vegetables safe? Is your turmeric safe? So where does it stop? That's one question also. How do you respond to that?
No, it's like catching the people who use the drugs and not the guys who sell the drugs.
Or who make it.
Yeah.
Make it. Yeah.
No, I think so. I'll tell you why a particularly part of the media circus and the social media circus around this, why this distorts rather than improves people's understanding of food safety is because food safety is broadly like 4 things, right? Number 1 is basically the microbiology, because the single worst thing that happens to food is that bacteria and fungus infect it. It's a hot and humid country. If your power fails, if your refrigeration fails, if you keep it out at room temperature, right? Salmonella, E. coli, norovirus, staphylococcus, all the usual things, for rice, Bacillus cereus and things like that, right? So this is contaminated food, right? And this can make you sick, it can give you diarrhea, and the worst case, you could die, and so on. So this is like one category. And again, you can sort of see it comes from basic hygiene, it comes from refrigeration, it comes from cold chain, and a bunch of other things, really, your entire supply chain of the entire thing. So that's your so a restaurant that bought some vegetables or meat a while ago should be discarding it if it turns bad, and so on. But then the economic pressure, should I just really heat it and then people won't know anyway, is the side of mentality. So that's microbiological safety, which is fine. This is something serious. You need to take it because this is what results in infectious diseases, right? The second one, significantly overstated, and honestly, all data tells us it is actually a very small fraction, is actually chemical contamination like pesticide residues above limits and heavy metals and those kinds of things, the illegal colors and those adulterants and so on. From when I was a child, from school days, we've been hearing about these things. Again, the number of people actually being harmed, evidence of harm. I would expect that 40 years we have epidemiological data that this genuinely affected like some million people and so on. We've seen none of that, right? Because the honest reality is that here what people do is that they say, oh my God, this had 2 times the pesticide residue limit. For starters, the allowable limit itself is set 1,000 times lower than the amount at which a rat got harmed. So when something becomes 2x, it's bad and they should be caught, I agree. but you don't have to freak out over it because you're not going to die. Okay, because there is still 1000x headroom before it even damaged a rat. So that's how safety limits itself is set, even in a country like India, right? Which sets it sometimes a little bit more generously than Europe, because again, we're not a rich country, right? So people sometimes confuse the first and second. They think that both are equal. They're not. The first is a far bigger issue than the second one. The third one is not even a food safety issue at all. It is a quality issue. But people plug it into the whole thing, right? Water was added to milk. Instead of ghee, you gave me palm oil. It is hydrogenated vegetable oil. This milk does not have as much fat as you claimed or as much protein as you claimed. You used inferior ingredients. You called it atta bread. You gave me maida, right? None of these things are going to kill you, but you're being cheated. So this is an economic crime. It's not a food safety thing. But when you think about the discourse, if everything is like bundled into one, oh my God, one continuous villain, whereas there is maida is coming, it is being infected by aflatoxins, and then it's also being added with some additives, and everything is sort of coming at the same time. And the fourth one actually is like the nutrition of it, right? If you are eating like things that are high carb, high fat, high sugar, high salt, low in fiber, it is going to be unhealthy. Right? And that also is like mixed into this whole thing. Oh my God, there's so much content from these influencers who will be like, this product in Nestle, this Nestle product in India has more sugar and less chocolate than the product in Australia. Boss, you are paying 10 rupees for that. That guy is paying $3. You want to pay $3, you can get that same chocolate level and so on. So at that level, so it becomes the problem is that none of these are interchangeable. But I don't think the food safety discourse right now is making a khichdi of all four of these things.
You know, when I was doing research for this and some of the violations that were listed, now I think one myth that we can definitely bust using the raids that have happened across at least 4 states that we know of is everything that's fancy, everything that's branded doesn't mean it's hygienic and clean, right? Because we've seen KFC, Domino's, all of them being raided, and that's one thing. Second thing is, like, for example, in a Blinkit or one of those, what are they called, e-commerce places, they find them because they wore sandals that they wear outside, and they entered the place and they said cross-contamination and all that. Now, this guy is under pressure to deliver in 6-7 minutes. We have discussed in one of the previous episodes that he gets fined. The delivery agent gets fined in multiple ways. You expect him to change his sandals, go in and pick it up, right? That's one bizarre. Second thing I want to ask all of you.
No, Shivani wants to say something first. Yes, Shivani?
No, so I mean, there are two things that we have to look at, right? The why this is getting so much attention right now. One, the scaremongering that has been happening on social media, and we've seen Krish Ashok like bust those myths and actually call these influencers out, which is amazing. But still these videos keep coming up, and we'll see from like some factory in Uttar Pradesh is making a rusk like this. Sometimes the video is also like doctored. It's probably AI, or like, you know, it doesn't even come from that particular place. Or the other times where there are these influencers who are gonna look at the ingredients and go send it to the labs and get the testing. Again, this is just one sample that you've taken and you're saying, okay, this is just a little bit more than what the prescribed limit is, which he has already answered. So there are these social media influencers. And then there are politicians who are conducting these raids. In Karnataka, we see like every minister is right now wants to be making headlines, and they have like they're conducting raids in different, or he's traveling in the bus, our transport minister. But I'm happy that they're conducting these raids, and we are getting to see how some of the posh places are, conducting their business. And I'm also happy that, they are also conducting the raids at warehouses such as Blinkit and Zepto that we often find on social media, people taking pictures of saying expired place, or there are rats running inside the godown, which is amazing. But also now the platforms are taking up, initiatives where they have a live camera inside the warehouse, where you see what is the product that you are going to be getting. But all of this is good. But how are we going to solve the issue, right? Like, or even make a breakthrough? Because the mechanism itself is flawed, because we don't have enough budget. We don't have enough officials. Even there are so many. In Karnataka, there are more than 50% vacancies. And during the Bangalore raids, they had to get 60 officials from different districts to do it. And now they've come up with a QR code mechanism where you can report if there is any kind of, violation being conducted in your food or medicine. But okay, now violations, people are tech savvy, they are gonna report it. How are you going to tackle this? Do you have enough manpower? So
In fact, if you really ask me, you wasted precious money on building that stupid QR code, that reporting app. That money that you could have spent actually raiding a few more places. And in a sense, I think, I would like to think, right? And I could be generalizing here. Look, politicians and civil servants and everyone are obviously looking at social media. They're looking at what the public is reacting to, right? I mean, that's what they're good at, right? And in general, neuroscience tells us that fear sells better than any kind of positive story, right? So therefore, people making, and in general, I think what I've also found, and I found this both for health as well as safety, which is that the rich people in India, which is basically people like us, want very badly for the extra 100 rupees that I'm giving to mean for a lot more, right? Meaning that I imported 500 rupee blueberry. It has to be better than the 5 rupee amla, right? But it's not. The amla is actually more nutrient dense than the blueberry, right? You can apply that to. So people believe that when you pay more, you're getting more health, and by naturally you're getting more safety and so on. And in a sense, I think one positive thing is that when you break this myth that more money does not necessarily get you more health or more safety, at least in a place like India, it I think hopefully wakes people up and maybe puts market pressure on the higher end people, at least to set a better example, or people who can afford it to set a better example, and so on. So, but at the end of the day, this is theater on theater, and I'll tell you, in my opinion, this is a vicious circle that's not actually going to improve food safety at all, because what will happen is that first and foremost, do you think they just genuinely randomly just put a pin on Google Maps and say I'm going to rate this place? Absolutely not. They're going to pick places that they know will fail, that make for amazing camera, right? That make for an amazing viral story. There is nothing viral about you going inspecting a place and it like being 80% okay, right? You're going to find the most horrible place. So therefore, a lot more attention is going to go to find these opportunities where the whole thing is match fixed. You will go there. At least for law and order, I can argue that India spends a lot more on law and order than it does on food safety. Now you're going to stress these people even more, and to waste their time on building QR code reporting apps, right? There'll be like 1 or 2 guys for FSSA that city, and 5 lakh people will sit and report some photo they took. Who's going to look at it? Right? So I think this whole thing is that you have to think about the overall scarcity challenges of India, and sort of yeah.
No, I think scarcity is the big issue. And we also differentiate a Zepto or Swiggy from a restaurant, because these are also companies that get a lot of investment and they promise even their foreign investors, etc.
Yeah, and they're taking a huge cut.
Yeah. So they are they should be more responsible in providing that hygiene, safety, etc. The same can't be looked at, somebody who's setting up like, for example, the street vendors of Bengaluru who are now being shunted out of every street. Like, every time their cart is turned or their cart is pushed somewhere.
Taken away.
Yeah, taken away. Next time they come back, they have to first repair that, right? So every time they have their issues. Are they going to then look at, is my cart spring very clean? Are my equipments very clean? That is not their first question.
Also, Dhanya, when we, it's very also sometimes superficial. Somebody's cart might look dirty because it's old, but he might actually be very hygienic. That's one thing. Second thing, since we have Krish Ashok in the house.
I want to just one thing and then you finish. So, like a place like Singapore, where it's known for its street vendors and for street food, right? They have very strict policies that every street vendor should have a registration. Are we like some 100 years away from ever having such stuff here?
It's not like that. I think it also has to do with, look, so the Singapore's policy, I've sort of studied that in a fair amount of detail, right? And the whole hawker, those hawker stall culture, right? You have to think about this entire part of the world, South Asia and Southeast Asia, not too dissimilar, right? A lot of poverty, centuries of colonial extraction, so deep levels of inequality, and the poor just doing anything to get by, right? And different countries have moved at different, levels depending on their size. And Singapore, being a small city state, was fortunate at one point to say that the original driving motion behind all of this was the fact that they wanted women to join the workforce and grow the economy and not sit at home and cook, right? And so, in fact, the original houses, the original designs did not have a kitchen because the Lee Kuan Yew was like, no, you go to the hawker stall and eat, don't cook at home, go work, right? So it came out of this very single-minded focus of building a society that you can do for a small city-state, that you cannot do for a country. A same country has UP and it has Kerala. I mean, these are like 3-4x difference in per capita income in literally everything else, right? So in that kind of world, yes, you can put and also they have the highest paid bureaucrats anywhere in the world. It was again a conscious policy choice that if I don't want corruption, that I need to pay like an insane amount so that guy does not, I attract the right talent and he does not have incentive to like take a bribe and so on, right? You can do this in a small country. And so they set up the hawker stalls in absolute first world ways, but grounded on Asian practicality, right? Yes, I want you to wear a glove, but I'm not going to over dictate some of these things. I'll do a regular inspection and I'll give you a very simple rating. And by the way, you go to the hawker stall, you'll see the green rating, some, when some guy will be yellow and all of that. And I think it's just a low, shall we say, they don't put too much trouble on those guys, but also do reasonably strict checks, but they subsidize their rent. They subsidize, they're not like, they don't have to pay a bribe to the cop every time and so on. They don't have to pay too much of a rent to the place they're on. They get subsidized fuel, they get subsidized electricity because the government has decided that you guys are going to feed this country. Right. So you can do that. I don't think that can be done at a country scale. I would argue that a small state could do it at a city level, right? But then again, you have to ask the question, right? In India, budget devolution, like, we have arguments between state and center, right? There is even much a larger argument between state government and the municipal government. How much money do you think the actual municipal councillor and all gets? They get nothing. No. Right? What change can they actually affect meaningfully when every financial decision making is centralized? Whereas in many of these other places, it's decentralized.
No, what was your last question to Krish Ashok?
No.
Is it some question from the kitchen?
Yes, it is. No, I want you to answer whether, expiry dates, is that a myth? Is it something
You want to eat food that is expired?
I'll tell you why.
What is
I'll tell
this?
you why I'm saying. I'll tell you why I'm saying. Now I buy a packet of milk from Nandini.
We already know about tender
right?
coconut.
Tender coconut, no. Nandini milk, right? Now I buy milk. It has an expiry date. Now I use it after 3 days. It doesn't go bad. Milk goes bad. You get to know immediately it's gone bad. So and many times when it's well within its expiry date, it still goes bad. So tell us a little bit about how this expiry date is arrived at in the first place.
So first and foremost, expiry date is set by lawyers. It's not set by scientists, right? So for starters, okay. So scientists basically, they give you a curve that says that this product maintained at this temperature under these conditions will gradually degrade at this curve, right? A scientist has no opinion on the marketing, on profit and loss, nothing else. He's giving you a curve, right? The CEO and the operations guys are like, right, I need to hit this margin. To hit this margin, I cannot tolerate more than this amount of wastage. My modeling tells me that this is roughly the range at which I can tolerate this expiry date and so on, right? And then the lawyers will finally come in and say, this is the number we believe is statistically least likely to get us sued for whatever reason, right? So essentially therefore, for starters, expiry date is very conservative, okay? Most foods will last longer than the expiry date, okay? But then again, if you want to ask how longer, it depends on the food, right? I would generally say plant-based foods, you can go a little bit longer. Animal-based foods, you do not want to go that long. So milk, therefore, is a lot more risky than coconut water or any other plant-based food. Because plant-based foods, when they degrade, they ferment. And fermentation is not always like bad, right? Animal foods attract pathogenic bacteria and fungi, and that's like not good for you. So I would say, be a little bit more risk averse with milk. But yeah, coconut water, if anything, I think if it's older coconut water, it'll taste fermented. It'll taste like toddy, by the way. That's all. At best,
Can you die drinking that?
No, you won't die.
Because
You have to test and see.
the thing I waste most is the Tetra Pak, right? Then they say 48 hours after opening, I would forgotten that I've opened it. And then after 48
Why
hours,
you
I'm
even
like,
buying Tetra Pak?
I
Of
buy the
what?
lactose
Juice?
free now.
Oh.
Milk.
At worst, you may experience some tummy upset.
I don't want to be that statistic of diarrhea mortality. You're evil.
No, again, as I said, no, it's be sensible about it, meaning that, look, a couple of days is probably going to be okay for most plant-based foods for sure, right? But I would say don't take a risk with meat and milk and things like that.
I'm going to try this, and if something goes wrong, I'm definitely putting a video out.
I think a lot of the noise on social media is coming from the Bandra, South Bombay types. I think it's probably worth ensuring that the conversation is a little bit more inclusive around, right? Automatically, when I think you guys or anyone else make content saying that, oh my God, this violated a rule, it doesn't tell. But yeah, you can argue that the people listening to you in English are probably anyway from the urban elite and so on. But even there, I think there's reasonable income disparity level where I think genuinely people are getting scared by this kind of discourse. And being scared is not actually doing good for food safety, right? Because that I think is the only thing I will sort of say, right? It's worthwhile thinking about, frame these stories as both sides. And this is clearly a both sides story, right? At least call out the drama, the theater for what it is.
Yeah. So Shivani is going to immediately order from a cloud kitchen after the show, which she thought was not good. Hey, thank you very much for joining us, Krish and Shivani. We have joining us from New Delhi, the political editor of the Quint, Aditya Menon. Aditya, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to talk about the reshuffle, the BJP's big reshuffle. Everybody kept saying it'll be a young generation that takes over. Frankly, I didn't see a lot of young generation taking over. I thought it was a redistribution for areas, communities, etc. But the biggest headline has been hogged by the new IT team. Like, who constitutes the new IT team? I think 2 of their accounts have still not reappeared. So when the IT team got announced, I think BJP is the only party where an IT team gets announced. The first thing that the team members do is to suspend their own accounts for some time to basically clean up all the crap that they have said over the years. And 2 of the accounts have not come back because there is that much cleaning up to do. Yeah. So Aditya, what were your first, what was your first understanding from this whole reshuffle?
I think a lot of continuity because on all the key positions like the entire office of General Secretary organization, it remains virtually the same. The same 3 people have been handling, and that's the office that coordinates the liaison between the RSS and the BJP. So that those 3 people have been handling it since a decade almost now. BL Santosh, Saudan Singh, and Shiv Prakash. So that remains unchanged. The vice presidents, again, these are the most ceremonial positions. Many of them again are similar. Smriti Irani's induction was, I think, one of the most significant developments in this, and that was General Secretary, which is in many ways the second most powerful position in the BJP. I think we need to watch out for what assignment she is given within the party, as General Secretary. So that was significant. Ram Madhav been brought back. I think it's an overture to the RSS, and also that he has some foreign policy brain. So that was significant again. And then, of course, the big news from the IT cell or the social media team. Amit Malviya being moved out. There are various theories regarding that, and partly he's being blamed for the lack of outreach on Instagram with especially given the Gen Z protests. But we never know. Amit Malviya might just come back with a Rajya Sabha or some other important position. So we should also not jump the gun on the reasons behind that.
Yeah, that's something that I've heard too, that though Amit Malviya and of course Tejasvi Surya, how could we forget? Both of them have been moved out. Their roles are not, they're figuring out another role for them. Amit Malviya, can you imagine that we are actually at a day and time when we think Amit Malviya was benign? He was not, effective enough for the BJP. But yes, those who did audition to get the role of IT cell head have finally gotten it, and now they're trying to clean up. But yes, the RSS imprint cannot be missed. We wrote about this in our political newsletter as well, Power Trip. There are almost 8 to 10 people with RSS background at various levels of the organization now. Ram Madhav is not somebody who got along very well with the top two, Modi and Shah, but he's been brought in. So that is a clear statement in itself. Also, BL Santosh, the fact that he's been retained is interesting. Because those in Karnataka have a lot of interest in what happens to BL Santosh, right? He's a very prominent figure in the south here for us. But he continues to have some influence, but he's not completely unchecked. The fact that Ram Madhav is there and the two of them don't get along, so he's seen as a counterbalance to BL Santosh. That's also interesting.
But Ram Madhav is only vice president, right?
Neither has me. He's part of the structure now. But I'm also hearing that there will be a cabinet reshuffle too. There's a very Gujarat kind of functioning. Every time there is some grumble, people are a little unhappy. You kind of change the faces. Of course, your larger way of functioning and approach will not change, but you make other people's scapegoats, move them out, and then pretend like, okay, this is 2.0. And yeah, more women also, interestingly. Yeah.
No, so tell me, Aditya, you're talking about Smriti Irani, right? Now, before this reshuffle happened, I think for the past couple of weeks, we have seen Smriti Irani take a very active role in sort of coming on television. I've been seeing a lot of her interviews. Like when Kangana Ranaut got a lot of negative publicity for abusing Gen Z, it was sort of Smriti Irani who seemed to be taking an active role in being a voice in the middle, right? A voice of reason. So do you think that bringing Smriti Irani back will also be a counter to some of the other voices which I believe the BJP is not able to control also, like Kangana Ranaut?
I think there is a talent crunch in the BJP, and there is also an element of confusion as to how to deal with this creature called Gen Z. Suddenly they realize that they don't have enough people who can reach out to this section, and Smriti Irani was a controversial HRD minister, but a very active HRD minister. And she, of course, emerged as a major villain in the aftermath of the Rohit Vemula's suicide. But at least in their ecosystem, she was seen as a very important and a very an HRD minister who knew what she's doing. Unlike Dharmendra Pradhan, who got flagged from even within their own ecosystem. So probably Smriti Irani is being seen as a voice who can help bridge that gap with especially the English-speaking Gen Z crowd.
Yeah. And you wrote a whole profile on BL Santosh, right? Like his growth in the BJP has been quite spectacular for someone who hails from Karnataka and has stayed on as a national general secretary for so many years.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's managed to stick around and he's still fairly relevant in the system.
Very relevant.
Yeah. So that is very telling. But I think all those who know him, he when he's talking to people outside, he comes across as very aggressive, assertive, etc. But when he's dealing with Modi and Shah, he's very conscious of the fact that he can't be a naysayer. He kind of agrees to everything that he said. That's one trick it looks like he's figured out, and he's stayed relevant. But for the southern states, he's played a very active role. And, people like Tejasvi Surya became what they are because of him, right? They were his boys. And he has a huge team of people working in different spaces. So that I think is interesting. But overall, I just think that BJP is still missing the point. Yes, they've lost the narrative game because Dimaki Naxal, for example, something like this that the Prime Minister saying on Independence Day should have gone viral, but it's gone viral for the wrong reasons, right? We're all making fun of it. Everyone's making fun of it. And it won't stick like Urban Naxal stuck, for example, or even Andolan Jeevi for that matter. And that is, I think, telling of the fact that people are no longer willing to just take everything that you say at face value. There is a lot of counter question. People are mocking you openly. And Modi spent 12 years making himself the only face of this government. And now that's backfired. All the anger, anything that somebody way down the ladder does also now is targeted at Modi.
Aditya, I was reading this story, I think it was in the print, saying that the RSS, Ratan Sharda, the author especially, had taken on Amit Walmia quite a few times, openly saying that the BJP has a problem where the IT cell is trolling the common people, not just the opposition, and that will backfire for the party. Now, one is, of course, was the RSS itself unhappy with the IT wing? That's the face of the party, right? Now, even if Narendra Modi is coming and doing a video saying friends, all the other times, the IT wing is actually working against that perception. So one, do you think the RSS had stepped in even for replacing the IT cell? And what does not make sense to me is that, let us say the BJP thought we will remove Amit Malviya from this because we want to look at how how to appeal to Gen Z. I don't understand the replacements. I have followed these people for years, and I know Alok Bhatt and Preeti Gandhi from their tweets, and I'm astounded that they would be the replacement. That is not only showing a talent crunch, it just shows that the wrong people are chosen for this job itself. What is the last time that you remember either of these people making a very strong argument for the BJP? I can't remember any. And both of them always descend to abuse.
I think it's a little unfair also on the part of the RSS to make Amit Malviya the scapegoat of this. I mean, ABVP is part of RSS. So ideally, ABVP should have been leading this outreach towards the Gen Zs. So, I mean, Gen Z going against the government, saying bad things about the Prime Minister is as much the ABVP and RSS failure as it is Amit Malviya's failure. So, I mean, this entire scapegoating of Amit Malviya, I may have 100 disagreements with Amit Malviya, but they are missing the point here. They are treating it as a communication problem when it is actually a political problem. I think it's the fault of the government, of the RSS and the BJP leadership that this entire Andolan happened. I mean, Amit Malviya, sure, he probably ignored an entire important medium, which is Instagram, and did not tap into it the way they have sort of aced WhatsApp, the way they aced Twitter and Facebook. So that failure does lie with Amit Malviya, no doubt about it. But that is a much more limited failure compared to how the government, the BJP and the RSS, ABVP, Bharatiya Janata Yuva Morcha were all caught napping that this entire tsunami of public anger was brewing among the youth.
I agree, but I have no sympathy for Amit Malviya. I think, it's also, in a way, they're saying that his understanding of social media and people on social media has run its course, right? Everybody has stagnation points.
But here we're assuming he was punished. Maybe he wasn't. They've just removed him from post.
No, but I'm saying in his role as the troller-in-chief, he has saturated. He cannot possibly think of new ways of going after people. And I think the larger thing is they don't know how to read these people, because the BJP's core value of how you treat with dissent and protesters, because you know how they came to power. Look at what happened in 2012. There was a Congress that was constantly engaging with protesters, some criticizing that too much. Like when the IAC
No, but they also
team
did
went.
Lathi charge.
They did that.
Yeah.
No, but I'm saying when IAC happened, they had like an entire, they had very senior Congress leaders and ministers, including Kapil Sibal, go to receive them at the airport and things like that. So there was this conscious effort that we are very strong. We will not engage with the protesters. We will not buckle down under pressure. And then next day, you're trying to also be this benevolent person saying that I'm forgiving you. Nobody asked for your forgiveness. Gen Z don't care for it. So they mocked him more. Everything that they're doing is backfiring. So who did they go after? Obviously, we're not expecting Modi and Shah to understand social media or how young people work. So Amit Malviya is the next person.
What about Raghav Chadha, Aditya? What is the buzz? Because I don't think he was anyway going to be part of the party structure, perhaps only the government, right? But the other Aam Aadmi Party person who came with Amit Malviya, I forget his name, he is now included in the Sandeep Pathak. He has actually been included in the party structure.
But he'll come when samosas or some price of something will increase, no? He's waiting for that.
I think that was the division of labor between Chadha and Raghav Chadha and Sandeep Pathak, even within Aam Aadmi Party. Sandeep Pathak was always the organization person, Raghav Chadha was always the face. So it's not surprising that they've included Sandeep Pathak in the organizational part. I think he'll also play an important role when Punjab goes to polls next year, because he was practically managing the entire election from the back end for Aam Aadmi Party in 2022. The BJP feels that Sandeep Pathak has a lot of inside information on many of the Aam Aadmi Party MLAs in Punjab. So they might be tapping into Pathak for that. Chadha, as you rightly said, I think we might have to wait for the cabinet reshuffle to see what happens to him. But I don't think bringing in Raghav Chadha has also helped the government at all. In fact, it has harmed Raghav Chadha's brand among the youth. This protest should have been his protest. He could have been a face of it. Instead, he has chosen to switch sides and become part of the BJP.
But Raghav Chadha was a brand even otherwise. Someone sent me a video. So there's a camera just kept like this and Raghav Chadha is walking to the parliament with some music. Which 30-second video has 124 million views. And I'm like, why are people watching Raghav Chadha walking into the parliament? So I think he had a brand which he didn't use well after a point of
But
time.
was it organic though? That's what I've come to
124 million can't be bought. That's a lot of money Raghav Chadha would be spending. Obviously, people were watching. Young
No, I'm saying the
politician.
AAP ecosystem might have pushed it.
No, but tell me something, Aditya. I think it's not just the Cockroach Janata Party protests, right? I think we are seeing misstep after misstep, not just by the BJP, but even people around it, like the whole BCI fiasco, where now you have ended up angering law students. And 450 law students asking the CJI not to come for an event where he himself is a chancellor would have been settled inside. There would have been some pressure put on the students or something would have happened, but the BCI had to put its head into that. He is a BJP guy coming from the Adhivakta Parishad. And that's also turned against the government now with more colleges joining in their anger against the BCI, the head of it who's a BJP man.
I think the problem with whether it is Manan Mishra of the BCI or Amit Malviya is that they know only one method, which is to bully, intimidate, threaten people. And you had earlier said that on one hand, the Prime Minister is acting as if, I am this forgiving grandfather who is forgiving these mischievous young kids. And on the other hand, you have your grandfather's underlings are going up and threatening and beating up people or intimidating people. This is totally unhelpful, and which is why I think Manan Mishra had to take a very embarrassing U-turn and go to, no, I'm always there for you, hum aapke seva ke liye hi hai, and he went into that mode. And the problem with these, the entire stormtroopers of the BJP is they only know one method, and they are suffering because of that probably.
Because that one method has worked for them, right? The last 12 years it has worked. And now there is a beast that has unleashed itself and everybody else is also taking a cue from it. And I find this law students pushing back even more interesting because eventually these are people who've written on record. There might be a lot more who support them who are not coming on record. These are going to be in your courts. Some of them could become, IAS officers. They could take up UPSC exams. So they will be part of your system. They're not people who are outside the system. They're not left ecosystem activists who are protesting against you. You can dismiss them as urban Naxals and all of that.
Dimagi,
urban, so many of them now. So these are people you have to take into account. You can't treat them like how you've treated. Second thing I find interesting is a lot of fence sitters who thought, BJP is not really harmful to us. Modi has not done anything against us. Now are angry because these are parents of young people who kept thinking, oh, my daughter could have gotten beaten up. My son could have had some, injury too. So now they are all very angry.
Imagine the BCI saying that none of you will be enrolled.
Can you imagine?
Yeah. And I was actually quite surprised at the pushback which came from NSU Bengaluru also.
Yeah.
Them saying that the CJI should not come for their convocation while he's a chancellor. No, I don't know how they're going to manage that. It's not going to be an easy task convincing the students that please let the BCI chief and the CJI come. And I think Cockroach Janata Party has also announced a protest asking for Manan Mishra's resignation.
But again, Dhanya, the CJI is now representing Modi. All of these people have become like fronts for Modi. The anger is against establishment.
No, I think that is interesting because in your Let Me Explain episode, you were saying that when someone fixes a label, for example, Narendra Modi starts a label Dimagi Naxal, people are going to use it over time and soon we are going to forget who started the label, right? Like a lot of people don't remember it is Modi only who started Andolan GV or that Vivek Agnihotri started Urban Naxal. The same way, the CJI may have started the Cockroach Janata Party, but a lot of people don't remember that anymore, right? And that will be forgotten.
Correct.
Completely. And it will be a movement against the BJP. Now, amidst all this, I don't know what was the reason for the PM Care audited statement to have come out. Ashutosh Ranka, I saw of CJP, really, he went on some channel and said that Cockroach Janata Party is funded by PM Cares. Why don't you ask the audit? And within 3 or 4 days, the audit is out. So they're taking credit for that. It could be true. But that also shows some level of audacity, right? Literally, you have spent nothing from that PM Cares fund. There have been so many disasters, natural disasters in the country. So many states, including BJP states, have been asking for money. What is happening? Is the BJP just so, I don't know, close to criticism? Why would they give these accounts out, which shows that they really have not spent any money?
Yeah, I mean, I was reading the story by Janvi in TNM, and there's so many unanswered questions. Even the entire money that was supposed to be given to the orphans of COVID, that also they may not have been given entirely, and only a I think her calculation was 439 would have gotten out of 3,383. I think probably those were the numbers. So in that too, if at all, they got the entire 20,000. So even on that limited purpose of COVID orphans, they have not done their job. And for all these years on PM Cares, they were totally opaque. We filed RTI after RTI. We filed an appeal after the RTI, the second appeal. Then the final appeal, there was absolutely no response. And suddenly they released this, and they've spent only one fraction, and it's also difficult to understand still what the purpose of PM Cares was. We already have a PM's disaster relief fund, which is meant for the kind of disasters they're talking about, and government employees are being asked to give part of their salary to PM Cares, but there can be no public audit of PM Cares. So I mean, it's totally mixed up in from the government side.
Because you were talking about disaster relief funds, the CAG report says that even that is not being spent. So I don't understand why all this money is being collected and everything is being put in FD and you're earning interest from FD. All that is fine. Good savings, Modi ji, but use it somewhere.
Look at the optics, no? Assam parts, it's a BJP ruled state. Parts of Assam still continues to be underwater. And what is PM care? The apt tagline now, PM doesn't care. That's the point. And this is just the tip of the iceberg, right? We've been shouting about the cess that they collect, which is running into hundreds of crores. We don't know what is being done. Swachh Bharat cess, education cess, what is being done out of it? We don't know. We can't ask. BCCI doesn't come under any kind of audit, but money goes into BCCI. So many questions.
No, but imagine
the lack
this
of transparency is a serious problem.
This PM Cares audited funds for 2 years is coming together after people have demanded for it this much. Now, the same party which expects everybody, even a salaried citizen, to be paying all the 100 rupees due correctly, did not give these audited statements for a long time. And for those who are unaware, PM Cares is out of the CAG audit. It is not audited by the CAG. Why? Why so much of secrecy? And I don't understand let's not forget, one of the biggest reasons why the BJP won the 2014 election was the promise of bringing back black money. I mean, have you all forgotten? Ramdev saying we'll bring black money. I remember all those stories.
Where is Ramdev these days?
Yeah, Swiss bank accounts. Indians have this much money in Swiss bank accounts. Even our memories are so short, right?
No, I don't know if we can blame ourselves. There's so much to keep up with, right? So what all will you remember?
Yeah, Aditya, you want to pitch in?
Yeah, Ramdev has turned against the government. On the youth protest, he said that if the government is not careful, the youth is going to throw them out of power. So Ramdev has been making some very interesting statements of late. He took on Israel during the Iran-Israel war and made this entire speech praising Iran. So Baba Ramdev has some different agenda going on currently.
We should look at Patanjali factory raids or some action, some license. We'll have the answer there.
No, also could be people jumping out of a sinking ship, right? You never know.
It could be bellwether, yeah.
Yeah. No, but what is a general mood you feel in the BJP that one after the other things are going wrong, including the PM Care announcement which comes now? Do you think they thought this reshuffle will take away some of the heaviness of this news and there will be some sort of happiness that, there's a new team, so everything will be put together now?
And there is some amount of introspection. Why? They didn't see such a big upsurge from at least the youth protest. Why did they see it coming? Why is the feedback mechanism which is supposed to be their big, their a big advantage over the Congress and other opposition parties? Why wasn't that working? Why didn't it reach the top leadership that youth was so upset? I think there is some amount of introspection. There is some amount of pushback from upper caste sections within the BJP. They do feel that the bypoll results, especially Prashant Kishor's win and the Madhya Pradesh bypoll result, should compel some kind of a rethink. Yashodhara Raje Scindia, who's the former minister of Madhya Pradesh, and she comes from the same Scindia family, she tweeted that there is a need for the party to introspect. So there is a sense that they have taken upper caste for granted. Otherwise, losing Nitin Nabeen's seat in Bihar was something that was totally unexpected for them. So that is there. There is also a sense that that this entire Gen Z beast and is something they are unable to completely understand. And the PM, of course, is trying different formats, but the political messaging remains the same. You're still talking very old language of Babar ki virasat and Dimagi Naxal, which are all 10, 15 years, 20 years old rhetoric. It's not something that Gen Zs are going to even register. So, I think that for the first time in the last 12 years, I've seen BJP feeling that they don't know what's really happening. This is something unprecedented.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like in the last 12 years, we've looked at everything at least the BJP has looked at everything. The ends justify the means. So I think they got the plot wrong multiple times. But people overlooked it thinking, but they're winning elections back to back in states at, union level. So it means that they've understood. They have the pulse of the people who matter. But I think the fact is that they didn't understand people right from the beginning. They just told it was a one-way communication. They didn't react to people's, grievances or feedback. They just kind of bulldozed their way through, hammered on, and won election. So people thought it's all forgiven. Maybe my dissatisfaction with this government is not justified, is what people started thinking. Now it is coming from so many quarters, right? That people are thinking, oh, possibly he's not as popular as we thought. Possibly he's not as great as we thought. And I find it extremely interesting that they've spent so much time, money, energy on making a comical figure out of Rahul Gandhi, Pappu, that is stuck. And so many of our relatives use that so gleefully, right? And now that man is on stage in parliament making fun of Prime Minister, and people are laughing. They're not laughing at him, they're laughing with him. So they don't know what to do. It's just attack from all sides.
Aditya, before we go to your final thoughts, I was thinking that this new guy who's come, right, the IT, one of the IT team members, which is Alok Bhatt. So somebody was saying that he is the one behind this new outlet called Pamphlet. Now, I don't know whether he is, but for those unaware, you don't have to check it. But Pamphlet is a poorer cousin of Op India.
Nastier sometimes.
Nastier. And my point is, we are all thinking the BJP is introspecting, etc. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Because the way a pamphlet, Op India, which are reflections also of those people you said, right, who know only to bully, they've in fact become more aggressive and are saying more stupider things. Like, for example, last 3-4 days, they have been behind the Thakur Foundation. Thakur Foundation has actually very legally provided money for some of the best public health investigative journalism in this country, including we had done a series on manual scavengers in Visakhapatnam, I think Calicut, etc., on how the city or the municipality claims that they are helping scavengers and they are not. The machines itself don't work. It was a series which won us a Ramnath Goenka. Some small amount of money they gave us. These guys said, no, so there's a video of me in YouTube now where Dinesh Thakur is sitting and I'm the puppet in front and he has the strings like this. So I am telling Pamphlet, give us fellowships. We will do the stories for you also. But I'm saying they are just becoming stupider.
But you're thinking like a sane person. That's the problem.
No, while we are thinking they're introspecting, I'm not we. You guys are saying they're introspecting. I don't think they're introspecting.
No.
I think they're just doing more mistakes, committing more mistakes as they are caught in a weak position.
Yeah, I mean, this is what they know. Unfortunately, even if they might want to change things, they might want to change the narrative. Their default setting is to spread hate, spread misinformation, create confusion, abuse. So unfortunately, this is in Punjabi there is a saying which means ki if my aunt had a mustache, I would call her my uncle. If BJP were capable of introspection, then they would not be BJP. Then if they were capable of not spreading it, then they would be a different party. So
Wow, how do you say that in Punjabi?
it's in Hindi. If I say it, it is अगर मेरी चाची की मूछें होती तो वो मैं उसको चाचा कहता. Something like that.
Anyway, thank you very much, Aditya, for joining us here for the first time at Sound Central. And we hope to have you again. Right, Pooja?
Yes, very sane, very calm person. So you made us a little calm today.
Made Pooja, she means I'm generally calm during the podcast.
So I really like yours. I really like both South Central as well as Let Me Explain side. It's really a pleasure thing.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh, before you go, you have to give us a recommendation.
I think my recommendation for this week would be Vadandi. It's the season 2 has just came out last week, I think. I really like that show. It's a police procedural, and I think 2 things that really stood out for me in that was that it's rare to see a male cop who is not toxic at home and doesn't have any emotional baggage and is quite functional as a person. And second is that he's shown as a very devout Muslim and someone who is growing his beard because he went for Umrah, and so that is. It comes very naturally. I have seen there have been male cops in Malayalam movies, but their religiosity is never played up. But for in this character, it was played up, but not in a overtly dramatic way. So I really like these 2 aspects from this series. Yeah,
I think the one of the funniest and most insightful books I read recently, and in a way adjacent to, I think, the digital and social media and internet culture in India that results in this kind of, fear mongering and all of that, is The Great Indian Brain Rot by Anurag Verma. I think it's one of the most, as a South Indian, like I was not quite completely into post-geo North India's internet rabbit holes. And I think it was such a fascinating book about India's internet culture. The first thing that came to mind is that somebody needs to write a South Indian version of that book. The Great Indian Brain Rot by Anurag Verma is what I read.
I will give like a light read. It's a book called Mother Faker. It's a teacher who does not want to have children, but she's also fed up with her colleagues who think she will change her mind eventually. And she's also fed up of covering up for her colleagues who are given, better treatment because they have kids and family to take care of. And so because of some misunderstanding...
Don't give out the full story, man.
No, just that. Because of some misunderstanding, her colleagues believe that she's pregnant and now she's faking a pregnancy. So it's Mother Faker.
Wow.
I know, right? Yes, please read it.
What is your recommendation?
I want to recommend the work of this journalist called Amy Goodman. She runs this YouTube called Democracy Now!, which is very good. One of the few good independent news organizations in the US. So what I realized is when they say independent, they mean something very different most times, right? They also mean like extreme right is also independent because the mainstream media
Here
is
also
not
we have extreme right.
that too.
That's
But they
independent.
don't call themselves as independent. But there is a what's it called? Documentary that's come out. I haven't gotten a chance to see it because it's not available in India. But in that, she talks about how anything that's exclusive is bad journalism. So she's urging people to steal her stories because that's the only way can actually bring about any impact.
I think anything exclusive is for 5 minutes.
Yeah. And also you got it first.
So I think at this point though in India, I'll gladly do with journalism. Forget exclusive or otherwise.
Okay, so I read a sports book for the first time in my life, and I'm very happy to give this recommendation. It's an old book, so those who actually read these books, please don't look down upon me. So there's this Twitter user, Balaji, he actually told me about this book. It's called War Minus the Shooting, A Journey Through South Asia During Cricket's World Cup. It's by Mike Marquisi. I think he's no more, he's an American writer and journalist. It's about 1996 World Cup. so well written. It's about both cricket, politics, and I was like taken back to those times of, LTT and the civil war in Sri Lanka. A really nice book. It's on Kindle Unlimited. Otherwise, it's a very costly book. I don't know why. Yeah. So,
And also, small aside, because related to Great Indian Brain Rot, another book on the same genre is A Nation of Idiots by Daksh Tyagi. I was just blown away by I think the humor, and I was just, wow, where did this guy? And then I could not find him on like social media. I said, good. That's probably one of the smartest things an author can do right now.
Anurag actually has a very nice podcast with some very, very interesting
Fantastic
guests.
Fantastic podcast. Yes.
Yeah, that I watch all the time. So thank you for joining us, Krish and Shivani. Thank you to our producer, Akshay Lal. Thank you to production assistant, Ajay, Ria, Anaka, who do our socials, and the years of the show, Sukanya Shaji. Do not forget, this month we have 1947 subscription offer. So become a subscriber. Keep listening.
Also, go and like this podcast, share it with your friends because you are our algorithm. Yeah, that's the only way we can spread.
Thank you.